We'll call the meeting back to order. Welcome everybody this morning. Mark, we're just returning from closed session. So I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, second by R. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 10:01 a.m. Any questions or comments on that motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right, Mark, we went into closed session for 3 matters, and those were the only matters that were discussed. Have the minutes note that. There's no matters arising. There's no public meetings today. Consent agenda. I have a motion moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be resolved that items A1 to B1 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted as printed, and further that authorization be given for the actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Any questions or comments on that? Doug.
Just want to make a comment. It's just something that maybe I'm not sure we can change or not, but the Chamber of Commerce minutes are in there for 2017. Yep. And yes. When I first read those, I thought, well, that's a mistake because they're a year old because they've already had the 2018. Yes. So I'm wondering if it's possible, something like that, because here you are, you're reading minutes from a year ago. Is it possible that someone like them could give us a draft copy of the minutes from this year with the last year so people don't look at that and say, well, why am I reading this when it's a year and something old? Like, is there a way of, I know we're not supposed to include, well, we do include some draft minutes, but I'm just thinking for the public, it would be more up to date if we could include minutes more current than just a year ago. So that was my comment.
Yeah. The one factor with that, though, is it's their annual general meeting. They're adopted a year after, and
a little bit confusing reading that and thought, what is this a mistake, you know? Yeah. And then, but I understand where it's come from, but I just thought it might be an opportunity for them to put in some current stuff too, right? Even though it's not accepted, these are draft minutes. Yeah, we'll revisit it in a year. So, and would give them a bit more publicity on who the executive is and whatnot for 2018 ahead of time. Yeah. We can make mention to the chair. Yeah. We'll reach out to Nella and see what they're. Right. We used to have a rep on there, but I guess we don't anymore. So.
Still have a person there.
Yeah. Good. Oh yeah, from the staff person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we have staff. So. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll reach out and see. Good point. But it is one of those AGM, and they only get passed a year later. Okay. Anything else? Comments? Call the question. All those in favor? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. We'll hand out the motions so that sign there and take effect. And then that brings us down to communications from Mayor and Council. Does anybody have any communications at this point in time? Rebecca.
I just wanted to thank the Durham Agricultural Society and congratulate them on a fantastic event on Friday evening, May 4th. Yes, May 4th. They had a wonderful dinner and good get-together for Durham, so that was awesome.
Yep. Anything else? Doug?
Yeah, just a couple things. So some people may have been involved in the West Grey Clean Sweep on the weekend, and hopefully you got a chance to get out and clean, particularly your area of that you may live in, West Grey, and I think it's important to do that. I was out, and I believe a few people from council were also out helping out, and it's one of those things, I think, though, we don't have to wait for one day a year to clean up an area in our area. Just if you can get out and do it on a regular basis. Unfortunately, we still have people that think that the roadside is a garbage dump or something, but we do have to, someone has to take on responsibility and care a little bit about it. So appreciate that anyone that did get out on the weekend to do that, and if you haven't had a chance, then you can do it anytime all year long. Also, just like to mention the craft fair, which some members of council were involved in that also in Newstead on the weekend, and I think they were very successful. I was there for a little while, and lots of vendors and lots of people coming and going, though the weather maybe wasn't cooperating. It was too good a day and everybody wanted to be outside. So congratulations to the Newstead committee that put that on. And one other item that I had a chance to visit when I was in Newstead was the Newstead vendors had a grand opening on Saturday at noon. They're open all day, but at noon they had a little ribbon cutting. They're a new business across from Granny's in Newstead. So congratulations to them, and look forward to more things happening in Newstead.
Thanks, Doug. Bev? And I'll get you.
No, it's all right. I was just going to comment on the
Okay.
craft show.
Rebecca, further?
I just wanted to also thank everyone who came out for the Hike for Hospice. This is a big initiative locally. Chapman House is leading the way with palliative care in our area, but we are also expecting some sort of satellite location in Lower Grey Bruce area that would handle our coverage area, a little more local for all of us. So on Sunday, yesterday, we did the Hike for Hospice. I know there was one going on in Durham. Newstat and Ayton were over to the Hanover one for a collective. I heard some preliminary numbers of about $43,000, not counting the online donations. So just thanking everyone for coming out and honestly, by supporting via the pocketbook, that was great. Great turnout for that.
Thank you, Rebecca. Anything else? I would have been the spring-like activity for a couple of days. The hurricane-like activity from Friday. I was talking to our roads department, and they've done a wonderful job of getting the roads cleared off and keeping clear. On Friday, I was heading to Chesley, company that does a lot of work, but is right in Chesley. MEI had their 25th anniversary. Couldn't get across the 6th, couldn't get any further up the Mulock Road, had to turn and go around because there was hydro poles snapped off both on the 6th, just off of Mulock, and 2 across Mulock Road between Mulock and Crawford. We had 15 poles snapped off, what the roads committee tells, or roads rural supervisor tells me. No incidents of any personal injuries or anything of that nature, thankfully. And thank you to the fire department, our emergency responders out there for keeping things safe for everybody using the roadways during that hectic thing. There was 3 fatalities, I guess, that have been recognized through Ontario, but we escaped that portion of it. So thank you to everybody, and thanks to even the public who come across trees and limbs. I had to stop once and had a neighbor stop with me, and yeah, it took 2 of us to get that tree off the road, but thank Maddie for coming along and helping me out with that one as well too. So thank you to everybody out there that tries to keep our community. And as you said, Doug, on Saturday morning, it was kind of why I didn't get to the ribbon cutting, cleaning up with the Durham West Grey Lions Club on the Hutton Hill and Douglas Street. They've adopted that, and we did a cleanup there, so worked away at that before I got down to the craft show. The dinner on Friday night was absolutely fabulous, and the entertainment, a very good crowd for that. One other thing, last week I was at the airport for the rust remover. Tremendous participation in that. Spring, guys getting their airplanes back out and going. A great program that they put on at the Saugeen Airport to get everybody up to speed if there's any changes in the regulations, and just little tips on getting your airplane up and going. And very busy over there at that. Speaking of walks, it is springtime and everybody wants to get out promoting their activity and fundraising. The Alzheimer's at Sulphur Springs next Saturday. You're nodding your head. Is it 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock? I think registration's at 10 and the walk's at 11 for anybody that could see fit to come out and support that as well too. So just a little shout out for them as well. And I think that's about it. Oh, the 10 o'clock is the Alzheimer's Walk. And Bev, were you there at that? I didn't get there.
Last Saturday, there was the Conservation Authority in West Gray,
Arbor
the
Day.
location in West Gray, that did
Springs.
the tree sales.
Yep.
And I think they're pre-sales, but they also have some for sale there, and it was extremely successful. There was a lineup getting in and out, so trees are very reasonably priced, and recommend everybody next year to go ahead and order and plant a tree.
Yep. Annual event that Conservation puts on for shrubbery and trees to be planted. Doug?
And just noticed on the calendar when you mentioned about next Saturday is also our Household Hazardous Waste Day in Durham. Yes. So 10 to 2, if you have any hazardous waste in your home you'd like to get rid of, they'll be accepting that at the arena next Saturday.
Thanks for reminding me of that one as well too, Doug. Yeah, the Durham Arena. Okay. That's it for updates and activities from council. At this point in time, we have one delegation on this morning, and I'm thinking that we're just slightly ahead of time, but are you willing to be early, Jamie? Or? Yes, yeah. Jamie Doherty from the Saugeen Economic Development Corporation, Business Community Counselor. Is that the title? Yeah. Okay. Welcome this morning, Jamie. And I will turn the floor over to you. The mic is live once you push the gray button there. There you are. And I don't know where our clerk went yet.
So I think
IT support he's getting? You've got a bit of a, oh, there it is. Okay. Good there on the visual?
I can control that too from here.
I'm hopeful.
Anyhow, I do appreciate Municipality of West Gray for allowing us to present today. Of course, you're well aware that we're here to ask for your support through sponsorship. So we'll talk a bit about why we're asking for that support. So again, my name is Jamie Doherty. I'm Business Community Counselor for Saugeen Economic Development Corporation, and I have here with myself my colleague Darlene Boisvenu. She is the project coordinator for the Hawk's Nest. So the Hawk's Nest is a Dragon's Den, it's a Dragon's Den inspired event. And just for information purpose, who here by show of hands has seen the Dragon's Den on TV? Yeah, most people have. So as you're well aware, the participants vie for the Dragon's money based on their business ideas. So that's basically what we're doing too with the Hawk's Nest. So the Hawk's Nest is to create local economic growth. It supports new and existing business ideas from entrepreneurs through coaching, mentoring, and financial assistance. We help develop business plans as well as have workshops and training sessions for the participants. We recently just had a Pitch It training program that the participants participated in, and it was really, really unique to see all the types of ideas that people are coming up with. So we did get it down to 7 finalists. We'll talk a little bit more after about the finalists. We have 6 Hawks, and I'll announce who the Hawks are. There's a minimal $30,000 plus that will be invested through grants and loans, mentorship, and business advice. The event is covered by local media televisions such as Wightman. And these here will show you the sponsorship levels. So obviously the corporate sponsorship is the highest, $2,500, and you can see the benefits and what you get with that sponsorship package. So again, we want to see some participation through your sponsors, so we invite them to come. Reserved seating, corporate logo on SEDC, Bruce CFDC, and participating community websites. Recognition by the MC during the full event. Full page print, ready advertisement in the event program. And feature on the event TV broadcast event DVD, which is done through Wightman. So we'll just kind of flip through the sponsorship programs. Again, you guys have that information available to you, so you can look at that as you will. So again, the Hawk's Nest is to be held on Wednesday, June 13th. It will be held at the Knights of Columbus between Walker and Mildmay. We did have 20 entrepreneurs that applied, and as you saw, we narrowed it down to 7 strong participants. The finalists are from varied types of businesses in our region, and they come from the following areas. 1 is from Grey County, 2 from Minto, 1 from Wellington North, and 3 from Bruce County. So there will be 2 alternates as well, and they're both from Minto. Now the Hawks, who we're very fortunate to have, we have some returning Hawks and we also have some new ones. So we have at this time 4 Hawks that we have announced, and those Hawks are Sandy Gott, Vice President, Ice River Springs and Feversham; Tony Salaki, who is the owner of Kaframo and Martin; Joel Coops, he's a part owner of MSW Plastics in Palmerston; Brian Hilbers, he's the Vice President of Law at Bruce Power. So we do have 2 more Hawks that we will be announcing shortly, and all I can say at this time is they're both from Bruce County. So sponsorships, why we're here. So this event is being solely funded by our generous sponsors, as you could imagine. It is an expensive but extremely important undertaking and imperative that we continue to encourage and support new and existing small businesses within our communities. We currently have a number of different levels of sponsorships, as you had seen, and each level provides different benefits. Our current group of corporate sponsors are as follows: the Municipality of Brockton, Town of Minto, Bruce Power, Supreme Pharmaceuticals, the Blue Water Angels Investors Group, and TD Bank. A number of other municipalities have supported as well, and that includes the Town of Hanover, Municipality Kincardine, North Wellington, Municipality Grey Highlands, Grey County, and they all have sponsored in some way. But we do need some more. The event is expected to draw around 400 people to attend. And the spin that we put on this event is that the 400 attendees are allowed to actually vote on the business ideas. So that's a little bit of a different spin than the Dragon's Den. And what happens is the one that is voted the most, the best idea, gets additional funding. So as we were looking for more potential sponsors like yourselves, we've been asked, what are the benefits that will contribute to us sponsoring this event? So I think the purpose of this event is mainly to create business ownership, and thus it creates jobs in our communities. We can only do this through, again, the participation and the partnerships and our sponsors. And this all happens across our entire region. So, you know, SEDC serves 10 different municipalities, and West Grey is one of them. The successful participants who are supported by the Hawks and the organizers, of course, actually start a business, and which in turn, again, creates jobs in our communities. And these jobs are filled by people from all over our communities. And finally, I guess our municipalities and corporate sponsors mostly understand the importance of this. They understand that this event supports economic development. And again, I know that West Grey certainly is heading in the right direction with economic development. And I think by sponsoring this Hawks Nest event on June 13th, you can continue to develop and support this region. I'm sure you'll agree economic development is critical in keeping our communities alive and vibrant. The Hawks Nest project is counting on funding through the generous support of community-minded sponsors and would appreciate your consideration for this event. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Jamie. Any questions on this for Jamie or Darlene? Doug?
Well, maybe not so much for Jamie, but maybe for Carrie. Just a statement. Last year, it was in Kincardine, right? Wasn't it held in Kincardine? Yeah, I remember. Was at that.
That's
it was a great event, a great evening. And I think it's one of those things that we should support. What did we, I know we did sponsor in the past, did we not? Oh, I thought we did. Okay, I was thinking that I saw our name on the sign, but I think that's part of the benefits of it is that you get some PR out there. So I would like to see us support it.
If I could just add one thing as well, sometimes, and I cover all of that territory, and sometimes people say, well, it's not being held in our community. As you can see, we've moved the event and we will continue to move it as time goes on. But one of the things as well that you may or may not be aware of is that we have 7 finalists. However, prior to all of that, we had small business plan training sessions all over Grey and Bruce and Wellington North and Minto and the city of Owen Sound. And so a lot of people, we had more than 40 people attend those sessions. And there were a number of people from actually the town of Durham that were there. So while they may not have made it to that, or they may not even have applied at this point to participate in this actual event, because some of them, their businesses weren't quite ready to go yet. And so while, you know, it may not be happening right here, you do have people within your communities that are very definitely, and do have businesses here, that are very definitely interested, may not just have been ready yet to actually apply for this actual event. So as you said, it was quite a fun event to go to and so on. So, and the other thing, last year the event was partially funded by FedDev, and it's not being funded this year at all. So all the money has to be raised by way of sponsorship. So it's imperative that we get as many sponsors as we possibly can for this.
Okay. Any other questions? Rebecca?
Does our sponsorship money go towards the building and the dinner, or is our sponsorship money going towards some of the $30,000+ What does our sponsorship money actually go towards?
So you can answer that.
The sponsorship actually goes to hosting the event. The $30,000 is from the Hawks. Every Hawk has to put in $5,000, and that's where that's coming from. So the sponsorship is for advertising, it's for the hall, it's for the marketing, it's for all of those things. The training as well that we provided to all the small business owners was all free. So none of them had to pay any fees to attend. And as Jamie said, we just held pitch it training as well for the 7 finalists. So that money from sponsorship pays for all of those things. Yeah. Yeah.
Further, go ahead.
Do we have money available, Carrie, and which department are we thinking to take this money from? Maybe economic development? I know that's Kevin's line, but...
No, not my line.
Depending if you defer it to economic development, if it's part of their economic development initiatives, your grants to organizations, in miscellaneous, you have about $1,650 left, $1,650 left in that for the year. Maybe
Might be slightly less. I think we
spent some money last week.
Oh, so it may be a little bit.
Committee of the whole. There was a recommendation there for, and
yes.
it went through consent here a few minutes ago. So, but Rebecca.
So I guess I would move that we defer it to economic development, and then they can bring back a recommendation of what would be suitable for sponsorship and so on. But when would the cutoff day be for sponsorship?
Actually, we're just going to have a discussion today about that.
Okay, very timely.
So I suspect within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so does that give economic development time? Yeah, okay, great.
I think the meeting's next.
It's too late.
23rd is when we've got the next ACTEV meeting.
22nd's council.
Yeah, yeah, 22nd's council. Might be able to call a quick meeting of economic development just on the one issue. Unless somebody wants to make a different thought. Doug?
I wouldn't mind if we end up moving that date. I know it's hard to get another date, but if we end up moving it back, because I already have a conflict, and Laura could have a conflict if she wanted to go to another meeting that day. If we could move it ahead a week, that might serve the purpose, but I know we've been struggling to get dates that works for everybody. That's the problem.
Rebecca, you were proposing that you would make a motion to defer it to economic development, that it would go through that? Or Rob, do you have another thought, or Laura?
Well, just asking Laura here in regards to the recommendation we made during the Butter Tart Trail program. That was a council decision, and we just took the information back to the committee that we've moved ahead with it. Can we do the same for this, knowing that most of the membership on the economic development is council members? Can we not do the same procedure as we did for the Butter Tart Trail?
Procedurally, that could be done, yes. Yep. We could go about it at that, on that portion of it too, Laura?
If I could add, taking it to economic development is always a courtesy, but they are just a recommending body. Council still has to make the final decision. The timing is a little bit of a challenge, as we just discussed, given our next council meeting is the 22nd and the committee's not meeting till the 23rd. However, if council makes a decision today, we would have the opportunity to let the committee know on the 23rd, and the event, as we can see, is only 2 weeks after that. So part of our 2020 action plan is to support economic development initiatives, and I would ask council to consider, there are different levels, and maybe this is the time to make some decisions.
Rebecca?
I thought there is, if we put it to economic development, which we don't have to do, but is there some marketing strategy that the Economic Development Committee has where they have 10 sponsorships a year, or they set aside $5,000 for sponsorships? What's the budget around sponsorship? I mean, we have some money in economic development we could pull from that's already been budgeted, right, for sponsorship. And so looking to the Economic Development Committee that's here today, part of you, what would be an acceptable level of sponsorship? We have up to $2,500 there. I'm sure they'd take more, but what would be a level that our Economic Development Committee?
Pretty soon we're going to be in as one of those last two hawks that are left. Rob?
Yeah, can I just ask Jamie, what's the other municipalities contribute to the program?
So I had mentioned on the top, I think there was 10 there that we're taking on as corporate sponsors, and it's $2,500, is it?
There are various municipalities have done different things. We've got from $2,500 to $500. It just depends on the municipality. Mm-hmm. Some are $1,000. It's all over the map.
Okay.
Okay, Laura?
If I could add, and I'm going to go back to the action plan, not only is economic development a pillar there, but also partnerships. And we've got a great partnership with Saugeen Economic Development Corporation as it is right now. And I only see us working together more and more as our economic development efforts continue to escalate.
All right. Seeing as it's the time, there's a time sensitivity here, I'd look for some direction to accept. Doug?
I'd like to make a recommendation of $2,500 to this program.
So you're moving a motion to direct for us to become an Osprey sponsor, wasn't it? Yeah.
3 corporate sponsors. right, our sponsor, for $2,500. I'll make a motion on that.
Okay. I have a seconder. Rebecca?
Can we just formalize where the money's coming from too? And I would second that.
So through economic development budget?
Yeah. And I think there is that amount in there on advertising or sponsorships that we have. Hmm? Economic development initiatives, yeah. Okay, so I have a motion moved, and no, seconded by Rebecca. Yeah. No, economic development initiatives. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Herget. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby agrees to sponsor the Hawk's Nest event scheduled for June 13, 2018 in the amount of $2,500 with funding provided from the Economic Development Initiative Fund. Or line, budget line? Carrie? How do we put budget line? Questions or comments? Bev?
I think we should have a prior discussion as to who gets the 4 tickets before we vote.
Can't give something away that you don't have. Yeah. There will be some discussion once they arrive, where they'll end up being. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Call the question, then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Jamie, Darlene, thank you very much for the presentation. I know last year was a great success. Continuing on with that, economic development in West Grey and the community around will fly very high as we going with these types of projects.
And again, hopefully, we are moving that around. So.
Push your mic.
Again, we are moving the event around year to year, so hopefully we can have it in our backyard next year.
Absolutely. We've got at least 3 arena facilities that are absolutely fabulous spots to host dinners and events in. So we look forward to working with you on that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yep. Yeah. All right. All right. I don't think there's any, well, there are no other delegations. Business arising from the previous meeting. Not aware of any. So we're down to staff reports. And the first one up is Carrie. And that starts on page 80. Hopefully I've got it right. The first one was with the accounts. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 8, 2018 in the amount of $1,086,408.44 of the Municipality of West Grey. Any questions, comments on the accounts? Have you seen them? Doug?
It's one, but I think it's sort of geared to our director, and he's not here, so maybe Carrie can answer it. Page 120, page 20 on your report, Carrie. Just questioning about the natural gas cost, and there was 2 sheds, and I think they were one is the Durham shed at the back of the arena, and the natural gas bill was $800 and some, and I thought that seemed awful high, but I don't know the exact time period of that bill. But compared to the other shed was $100, and the other one was $800. I thought, but I know they have 2 big doors, and or maybe more than that, 2 big doors in the shed at the back. So they open and close at 3. I can see that there's going to be a lot of heat loss there, but I just thought that was extremely high bill, depending on the time period. I don't know.
So the 895, so that is the storage depot on South Street, the former Grey County building.
Oh, that's the old.
That's that one. 183 South Street, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that one is
Why
for.
would you have to heat
And I don't know the quality of insulation or
Why are we heating that?
that? First machines and those trucks.
I don't know what's stored in there. I'm not sure.
It's,
Oh, that's why.
It's flowers.
we'll ask, Bev's gone to see if Brent is available. He was just about ready to come in, but anything further before Brent comes in? Rebecca?
I do have a separate question. The Bentic
Okay.
Plowman Association, I see they're receiving $200 for their 2018 grant. Did
Yes.
they send a letter requesting that in? And so have we seen Normanby's as well, or?
Don't think
Not
I've
yet?
seen Normandy's yet.
Okay, okay, very good. One last question, but I guess, again, it's for Brent. It's the Thompson Flow investigation, $6,340. I was under the impression that GSS was completing that work for us on the flow rates and so on. So maybe when Brent gets here, we can take that up too.
No, I'm not going to, yeah. I think I can comment, but I'm kind of making an assumption, so yeah, wait until Brent gets here. Probably has the,
Sorry, mine was 102, page 102 that I made reference to that. I think I said 120, but it's 102 if you want to look at it.
now I've kind of got, can't really go to the second item until we deal with the motion that's on the floor. Procedurally. Well, for anybody out there that's dead time, Bev is coming back in.
He's actually on a phone call, so if we could delay that question for a minute, he'll be in as soon as he can.
I think we can deal with the motion. It's not a matter of it. It'll be on, get a little bit more background to it. It's a bill that's got to be paid. We'll follow up on it. It's not one that we're questioning on being paid. It's just questioning of the reason that it's as high as what it is. Okay? Any other questions? The second one will be on the Thompson, and I think it's GIS. Some of that subcontracts a lot of that stuff out because they don't have. Yep.
That's what I was thinking too, but I was like, I didn't see this.
Yep. Okay. All right. Motion's on the floor to approve. If there's no other questions, we'll get some of the background information from Brent. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Now, the second one, Carrie, is on mileage. Am I correct on that? Is just for information there. On a quarterly basis, mileage rate set by the corporation is done on a formula base through the county. We follow the county, and it's reset every three months on a quarterly. And I take it at that. Does it move 0.5, 0.005? Yeah, not 0.5, 0.005. Yeah, not 0.5. Bev?
Just a comment, did you see that gas out west is like $1.70 or something a liter? It's, I hope it doesn't, I don't know if that's coming this way or whether that's economic out there or.
And pretty much all of that gas comes from, the
Yeah.
well that comes from, I have no idea what,
That's unreal.
yeah. Must have some of the economic spin-off of the great savings that are happening in the USA right today from their president. Doug?
That wasn't BC prices and with Alberta holding the purse strings maybe on the gas, cutting back on the flow.
Yes. Okay. And that's it, Carrie? Anything else? No? Very good. All right. And I take it that then we'll go down to the clerk's report. As we said, it sounds like Brent is tied up on something right at the present moment. So the clerk's report starts on one. So we'll find out, where does that start? Is it okay? Do I have council's approval to divert from the agenda? All those in favor of doing that? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. So Brent, you're down to 158. What page? 61. I thought that was consent. I think it's 158, because, yeah, the 61 was,
58?
yeah, because the one you're looking at is the consent agenda item there. Yeah, there's the regular promised Friends of the Music in the Park Committee. Mark? Dealing with
So at the April 30th Committee of the Whole meeting, the committee asked that I contact Heather Wright and request that she provide the municipality with a minimum of 5 names that would comprise this, what was known as the Vickers Park Committee. Heather, in turn, did provide the 5 names, and she's calling the committee the Friends of Music in the Park Committee. So, and of course, part of that is also that council would provide insurance and hydro for the event. And since if council does agree to appoint this committee, then they would be under the auspices of our municipal insurance. And then that would be, of course, a bylaw 55. I do have drafted to include that committee and the members she has suggested. And then on top of that, I would suggest council pass a resolution to indicate that they would also provide the hydro insurance for that event as they have in the past couple of years. So I do have a motion if council wishes to entertain it at this time.
Okay. Discussion. Bev?
In the past number of years too, or maybe last year was the first year, I'm not sure, the Parks Committee has supplied a washroom there. We do not have that in our budget this year. I'm wondering if they should just go ahead and get it themselves. Maybe they should be informed of that, or
I guess the question probably is sitting, the Parks Committee pulled that from their, they do have washrooms in different places. This is just one that they pulled.
yeah,
When I say that, yeah.
pulled 2 because of the, yeah, pulled 2 because of the budget,
Okay.
and that was one of them. That was just done last year as a, they asked and we put one in extra.
Okay. Anyways, Mark has a motion if somebody wants to go ahead. And have the bylaw. Doug?
I'll make a motion.
Headed this way.
We got it that way?
Yep. See what support it gets for down there, and if it doesn't, it'll come your way. Rob?
Just wondering, what are they planning to do? Has it been no information in regards to the road construction that's going to they have another location that they can.
Well, I think when it's Sunday and with certainly the increased parking, you know, with the credit union there, their parking lot, I don't think that the construction would have an effect on the park itself. And if it gets to that point one Sunday where the road is closed, then they can dance out on the road without any harm.
True. Because I think the information I got this morning was that they were looking at a portable band stand that they can put in the Queen Street parking lot. But if that's not required, then I'll get back to them and let them know. But they were looking at that aspect to moving it during the construction. But my understanding, I think Brent's just going to repair that intersection and pulverize the rest of it, so it shouldn't be a big inconvenience for them.
I don't think it would be a huge inconvenience for them at the shelter itself. Rebecca? One
thing I would like, as Bev has brought up, the change of a level of service from last year to this year, the parks not having a washroom facility located there. I would like some letter of communication to this Friends of Vickers Park organization, along with the other location that will not have a washroom this year. Just a change in it. Yeah. If we could just have that communication to the Friends of the Vickers Park.
Mm-hmm. And this committee would probably be one of those things they would need for us to come back to us, you know, whether they've worked out a different option or something that they would take on themselves before we put one in there. All right. Any other comments? I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting and seconded by R. Hergert. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the use of Vickers Park on Sunday nights from June to September 2018 for the music concerts organized by Friends of Music in the Park Committee, with the municipality providing hydro and insurance coverage for these events. Rebecca.
Just a comment to this. Thank you so much for the organization getting together last year, making a donation to West Grey. I believe it was $1,000 last year that they donated back to us at the end of the concert series. So thank you.
Yep. And it sounds like, in speaking to Heather, that's kind of what the idea is for investment back into our parks and cultural. Any other comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. And the last one, Mark, I think on your... Oh, yeah, there's a few yet.
The second one is regarding Councillor Carol Lawrence. The need... She will be absent for a number of council and committee meetings, and just to protect her seat, I guess, on council and the committees, suggesting a resolution be passed by council to authorize her absence. Now, I did get a voicemail message from Councillor Lawrence this morning. She had read the agenda, and she had suggested, instead of stating due to her absence being due to personal reasons, that it be changed to due to medical reasons, and then instead of August 1st, the time frame of 2018, she suggested, due to her rehabilitation requirements, that it be changed to August 31st, 2018. So I do have a motion for that. The other part of that equation is council had asked me about Councillor Lawrence's appointment to the upper tier or Grey County Council, which is now permitted as an alternate in lieu of the absence of the mayor or deputy mayor that sit on county council as well, our local representatives. It has been confirmed, unfortunately. Maureen Beattie, the senior advisor at Municipal Affairs, was at the public information meeting in Owen Sound for regarding voting and internet voting. Unfortunately, she was had to leave due to a family emergency, but I did speak to the county clerk, and she had indicated she had received an email earlier in the year about that same question, indicating that The only possibility of replacing an alternate member during the same term of council is if that seat actually becomes vacant. So that would not qualify in terms of her temporary absence that to replace as an alternate member, just for council's clarification. So I do have a resolution if council wishes to entertain it.
Okay. Bev?
So discussion should go back to the county then as to, here's a perfect example of why that should be maybe looked at, and other extenuating circumstances be put in there, or is this a provincial?
It's actually the municipal act, so the county wouldn't have any authority
no,
to
I didn't
do
realize
that.
So we need to maybe send a letter to the province asking that there be other what-ifs put in place, because anything can happen. I mean, something could happen 6 months into a term of council, and then you've got nobody assigned to upper tier for 3 years because you can't replace them. That's ridiculous. People get sick.
No, once it becomes
Oh,
vacant.
if it
If
becomes-
the individual...
If it.
Yeah, if council declares the seat vacant.
Yeah,
So
if.
the person passes away or quits,
But
whatever.
yeah, but something like, a personal extended leave of absence could go on for 6 months, a year. You should have the right. If it's a medical reason, you should have the right to replace that person and then rescind that bylaw and put that person back in, I think. We should.
Well, yeah,
We should send
it's a
letter to the
discussion
province
that...
to say there can be other circumstances where somebody needs to be replaced.
Okay, Doug?
Yeah, I agree, because it defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get an alternate there to get our 2 votes, and then all of a sudden we have someone who's now sick, can't go, so where's our alternate, right? So I think it's something they need to correct, that's all.
Yep, we can have a staff send a letter off to Municipal Affairs, and with this new legislation that has come in, here's a what if. Bev?
Do we have a delegation with Municipal Affairs coming up at all? No, we didn't. I'm just saying we could mention that if that was,
It's one that you could add at the annual conference.
maybe it's something we need to, it's a fairly important step. Maybe we should add that and have a delegation regarding that, and just, there needs to be some tweaking.
Possibilities, or what the reasoning was for,
Making it so tight.
tight. Correct. Rebecca?
In light of the last county council meeting, where there maybe were some issues that directly affect West Grey, I am of the opinion that we should always have 2 people sitting at that table for the decisions that will be made that affect West Grey. So if that means that we need to vacate the seat, that is what my opinion would be. I feel that we really need to make sure, again, Deputy Mayor is absent today, and anything can come up at any time, but we really should have the people that are allowed to be at the table in a full capacity. So I would look for an alternate to be seated at the county table for some of the big discussions that are coming our way this year yet.
Bev?
Well, I would not support vacating Carol Lawrence's seat after 45 years of service. Then that just, to me, is just a slap in the face to get an extra seat at the county. I understand the importance, but there's another human side to that, and I would never in a million years support that with her dedication and her hope to get back. If we vacate her seat, that's it, right? She's done. So, no, I would never, ever support that.
Okay. I do have a motion, so I'm going to introduce that, and that may lead to the answer to your question, Rebecca. So I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby authorizes an extended leave of absence for Councillor Carol Lawrence from Council, Committee of the Whole and Committee of the Whole Planning meetings until August 31st, 2018 due to medical reasons. And there's nothing precluding, this is where it would come until August 31st, but on June 30th or July 15th, whatever the date may be, this doesn't preclude Councillor Lawrence from coming back and participating in council. Yeah, whether it be here or at Grey County. But it kind of has that coverage. So, motion is in. That's a description of it. Rebecca.
So do we have Deputy Mayor Bell and Mayor Eccles' assurance that we will not be left unrepresented at the county level over the next few months? And I do, just for the record, I do appreciate Councillor Lawrence's continued service. I mean, she's still calling to put some information in today for today's meeting. So, I mean, with all due respect, I'm making this choice because I really feel these issues that are coming our way are not to be sidelined. So I'm looking for the reassurance that our mayor and deputy mayor will be there from now until August while these big topics are coming.
Well, I can assure you, from my point of view, I have done everything possible to be there. I know that Councillor Bell has. And yes, you know, emergency circumstances, unforeseen, I can't, but there's nothing that has kept me away at this point in time. Bev?
Well, I was just going to say I have faith in our two members and have had for many, many years that they're going to, if there's an issue coming up that's important to West Grey, they'll be there come hell or high water unless an extreme emergency comes up. But, you know, in that case, whether somebody could, a substitute could make it at the last minute anyways is another thing too, so.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. The next one is on procedural bylaw. Am I correct on that? Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
Yes, so again, on April 30th, the Committee of the Whole discussed possibly changing the Council, Committee of the Whole, and Committee of the Whole planning meeting dates to their typical Mondays to a Tuesday, which would help facilitate any questions Council may have, or even the public, prior to the agenda being dealt with on the Tuesday. So typically, the agendas are completed Thursday or Friday. May be the weekend by the time council gets to read it, or the public. And if they have questions of staff, the Monday would facilitate that discussion prior to the meeting being held. The second part of that was relating to what is known as the question period on council agendas. It's basically about the last item on the agenda, which the public is allowed limited opportunity to speak to any issue on the agenda that's during that meeting, if they want some clarification or if they have a question of council. So the thought there of the committee was perhaps if it was changed to at the start of the meeting, therefore the public would be able to comment or provide some concerns they may have with the issue before it's dealt with by council, and to facilitate that part of it. And then there is some discussion with the committee about whether or not it should be deemed a comment period as opposed to a question period. So it's a comment of council or a concern that is noted by public, and that council then would take that into account when it's discussed later in the meeting. The only issue, I guess, from a staff perspective is, of course, when the meetings are held Monday, you have Tuesday to Friday to get the actions completed from those meetings, and then again to typically not only do your own work, but prepare for the next meeting, which is pretty well every Monday of the month. By putting it Tuesday, of course, you would only have the Wednesday to Friday to complete the action from those council meetings, committee of the whole meetings, and then of course getting the agendas done for the following week. I suppose it could be argued that you would have the Monday to start on the reports for the next meeting. So that is a bit of a concern. The other part of it was there are 3 or 4, at least, long weekends where instead of, obviously, we don't meet on the Monday, the holiday, and typically it has been to Wednesday, so that if council wishes that to continue, where they would have that Tuesday available again to ask questions of staff, or would they want that to be held Tuesday as well? But that would mean your Monday is not available to discuss with staff. So those are a few questions there I'm posing for council's discussion and direction.
Yeah, I think, just to comment on the last part, Mark, about the holidays, I think because they are with exceptions that I would recommend that we'd stay with the Tuesday, even though that still gives you the 4 days after, or 3 days after. But the holidays would be an exception. Keep it to Tuesday so it's consistent. But the other thing I wondered about is there any way that you could have your county or council meetings and your committee of whole meetings on the same day, so that we're here when we come, we're here this all day, and then that will leave you 2 weeks before the next committee and council?
That would be problematic because, for instance, committee of the whole, there's often direction and recommendations. So if committee of the whole meeting was during the day, well, the only, of course, we have council during the day once a month. So I suppose you could have a committee of the whole in the afternoon, and then you'd be waiting for 2 weeks until the evening meeting. It would be rather difficult to have committee of the whole meeting on the third Monday or Tuesday, and then have council that evening to bring those recommendations. You'd have to bring an addendum or direct motions, and that's something I think we're trying to discourage from bringing business that isn't in the agenda ahead of time as much as possible. I should also mention, I noted in my report, but there was also some issues of, certainly we want to continue Wightman recording the council meetings, and I did speak to Adam, and he did indicate Mondays was preferable, but he would make Tuesdays work. And I did also speak to our municipal planner, Ron Davidson, and he is able to meet Tuesdays for committee of the whole planning, just to clarify that.
Okay. Bev? No? Yeah, sorry, I thought you had something.
I was going to say now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anything else on this? I guess I'd pose the question, if we want to look and tweak this, how much from the publications we have out there to everything else, do we make this a recommendation going forward in 2019? Is it perfect? Is it not? Yeah, it probably can be, but how much do we have to change? Bev?
I do remember what I was going to say. I do think that this should be a recommendation maybe for future councils to look at. I also realize that this is a knee-jerk kind of effect of that one particular what I consider to be a mistake made by council, not deferring a subject and having discussion and having people have the ability to come as a delegation. So I think that this should just be a proposal for the next election rather than changing everything now, to me.
Okay. Doug?
Yeah, I think it was more to it than that, though. I think the fact that we were trying to give ourselves and staff more time to read the agenda and then respond or ask questions. So by going to Tuesday, if there were any questions, if the agenda comes out Friday, you read through it. If there's some questions or concerns on Monday, you could solve those, and then Tuesday you're ready to go. So I think that's where it came from. Plus it gives the public more time also. But the other thing I was thinking about is maybe it'd be an opportunity to, I have no problem with putting it off to 2019 or bring it up as the next council, but they wondered if the comment thing, we could put that in as a temporary between now and the end of this term, as just to get a feel for how it goes, and then something that can be voted on with the new council in the new year. So it'd give us a chance to see it and see how it works. And if we don't like it, then you can get rid of it. you know, so that would be a minor change that we could experiment with.
Okay. Rob?
That's just too much jumping around. I think proposal for next council in 2019, look at it if they want to proceed with it. At this point, it's been like this for years and years and years without a big problem. So why change it now? Let's finish this term. Let the new council decide if they want to move it to a Tuesday. But, I mean, you're jumping back and forth. It's just not fair to the public or to staff.
Okay. Rebecca?
Okay, so what Councillor Hutchison just said was the reason why we got to this point was because the public needs more time to communicate with councillors so that we represent them better. So if that's not something this council wants to deal with now, fine. One thing that would be no cost, quick change, not a big deal, is to move that comment period right up to the front. When people, individual citizens come here and sit through our entire meeting and want to just make a 2-minute comment, I think that this is an easy fix. Let's move it right up to the beginning. If our meeting starts at 10 o'clock, we give it from 10 till 10:15 or whatever the set amount of time is that people can come and voice their opinion, concern, whatever, to the entire council, the full council, and then we can go ahead with our meeting. They can stay if they choose, but they don't have to be kind of held here until we get to the comment period or question period at the end. So that would allow open communication from citizens to come forward and express their concerns or ideas or opinions, and then we can discuss it from there. So I think that is a quick change that is no cost. We literally move it in the agenda, and then we're able to open it up. I understand the dates have been published, so we would have to give notice and so on. It would take a minute to organize to a Tuesday, so maybe that's a bigger a topic we can take on, but I'm sure that these will not be the only amendments to a procedural bylaw that a new council may look at, but they were brought forward because I think that at minimum we could make a few changes that would really have a high impact for communications amongst.
All right, point taken. Bev?
Well, I question whether a comment period at the beginning of a council meeting is as constructive as a question period at the end. To me, if somebody has sat through and has an interest in what's going on at council and the discussion, they hear the discussion, they do that, then they have a chance to question something, as opposed to making a comment without really hearing any discussion or any concerns that council has. So to me, you're actually closing a door for communication and what the public is talking about, as opposed to opening a door. I think we should leave the question period to the end. They gives them the right to make, to question and to make a comment if they need to, but it's with the discussion already heard that how council is thinking, so they have a clearer idea, rather than coming in and just making a comment and leaving it. That doesn't seem to me like more open and honest communication. Seems like less.
Okay, Doug and then Rob.
So maybe we can do both. Could we not have a comment period at the start and a question period at the end? And you have limits on the time, but I mean, somebody might want to come in and say, well, I see in the agenda you're going to talk about this is my feelings, and then I'm gone. And then you have the other people who come and want to sit through the council meeting and maybe pick up on something that they can question at the end. So I think there's room for both.
I did ask that originally and was told that no, you have one or the other. Is that?
No, it's council wishes to amend the agenda, that's council's option to do so. And as noted in my report, it would require some kind of notice. I wouldn't say it's any substantive change, so I would just recommend it be noted in the notice at the end of the agenda, where you give notice that it'll be dealt with in the next meeting, and then post on the website as well. So it wouldn't be a significant change, and it would provide that opportunity both ways. It might somewhat increase the length of the meeting, but not unduly.
Rob?
Councillor Hutchison said what I was going to speak, so I agree with what you're saying.
And I think and we've been, as chair of the meetings, I think that I've been fairly liberal with question periods at the end. What it would take would be just a little more conciseness. I don't know whether that's the right, I don't think that's the right word that I'm looking for, but it's the only one that's got on my lips right at the present moment. Keeping everything on track and on file, that this is where we're, if we go with both, then it'd be, there's 20 minutes allotted instead of the 10. As I said, we've extended that question period out. Up to council here. I think that one's an easy one to test pilot at this point in time. The procedural bylaw myself, if I could speak from the chair, if I've got approval to do that from council, okay, nobody's going to jump on me. There's a lot of procedures in there that we can use, and I think we saw that. Councillor Cutting has said, she wanted to defer making that motion, and a lot of this has come out of the March meeting where Sunday gun hunting was put in place. There's tools in there, so I think that as a council we have to get better thought and usage of those tools to engage the community and allow them that time. But the question period, so we look at that, and I'm getting the feeling that instead of changing the dates and everything, that we leave that alone, but going with the question period, comment period, may put a little more community input into the meetings. Okay? All right. Sounds like there is consensus to make a motion to change the agenda. So I'm going to wait to see what comes. Add, change. We've got to change it to add. Add the comment period.
Changing the question period.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Arger. Be resolved that the Council and Municipality of Westgate hereby approves the proposed change in the council agenda format, being to place a comment period at the start of open session of council agendas, and further that the council directs the clerk to take necessary actions to facilitate bringing forward an amended procedural bylaw for consideration by council as a result of this change. Bev, comments?
So do people have to sign up like they do it's just an open mic? Do they have to comment only on what's on the agenda, or they can come in and just say, I don't like this road, and blah, blah, blah?
I was probably interpreting the question period, the comment period, to be similar to the question period. Maximum 10 minutes, 2 minutes per speaker, related to the council, the agenda at hand, if that's council's thinking.
Okay, so when we make this knowledge to the public, we need to put the clarifications around it, because people may think a comment period, they can give in a comment on anything.
So I believe that's kind of explained in the question period agenda right now, and that similar explanation will be in the comment period if it's approved.
And we're going to be lenient as far as the comments go, but not if they do not pertain to the agenda. Am I correct on that?
That's at the discretion of the chair or the mayor.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I mean, you're good now with the question period, but you do get people coming in just, a comment out of, you're going, where did that come from? So, and it should be directed at a staff, like the head of a department or something. It's got nothing really to do with even sometimes our decisions. So as long as that's kept to a minimum, you don't.
It'll be something we'll have to work and learn with.
Yeah.
Or learn and work with. Okay? Any other comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Do you want to put, did everybody put their, All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Apparently not. Look, both, yeah, that's carried. Okay. Ernie Hardeman, MPP for Oxford, wants us to take over the planning of the landfills. Mark, anything else to?
Certainly, in some respects, it's good to have local control over matters such as this. The only caveat may be certainly if a company comes in and wants to establish a landfill site and refuse it, and it goes to court, I guess perhaps you may be
You're on the full tilt.
more on the hook for some legal bills, etc., and getting peer reviews of their engineer studies to refute some of the comments or reports they have. But anyway, I'll look for council's direction. I do have a motion prepared.
Any comments on this? Rebecca, go ahead.
I will mention that at the OGRA conference, there was a resolution, this was the resolution that was circulated around, and basically just giving more local control for matters that affect local communities, and so I would be very supportive of this.
Okay. Bev?
I have a question. There has not been a landfill site in years that have been approved. So are they going to, like, really, if we say, sure, go ahead and put a landfill site, there really has absolutely no doesn't hold any water, really, because they haven't approved anything anyway. So I don't really understand, except maybe that we can make a comment, but if we give an approval to a landfill site, that means absolutely nothing to the province if they don't decide not to.
Well, and that's the way it is right now. I think what Mr. Hardeman is talking about is that, no, the municipal authority, that you have the right to turn it down. I guess it comes into one of those things, well, there's 14 of those things in the municipality of West Grey right now.
Exactly.
Was under the Green Energy Act, where the municipality did not have the authority to say no to alternate power sources or green power sources, however you want to put it. But the reasoning for that was these are multi-billion-dollar corporations. Mm-hmm. Do we have the size, the capacity, and the scope, as Marcus said, to fight on that at that level? And the province at that point in time said, look, you know, we'll do it. You know, we know what it is right now with the aggregate resource. Mm-hmm. Yeah, over the years, I guess we've developed a fairly good working relationship or working of that aggregate act. Not certainly the relationship sometimes between the community and the proponent. You know, sometimes it's, be careful what you ask for.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know whether it's this is something we should be supporting or not. I don't know.
Rebecca.
It's a huge can of worms.
So Bev, just like you had discussed there, the province being the granting authority for those permits, this is where we as a local municipality get to comment and approve, locally. But it would really just be a letter of recommendation on up to the province, either that we allow it, that we're a willing host to a landfill, or, you could put in your wind turbines in place of this landfill.
All right, send it on down there. Bev?
If we listen to the public, there is nowhere in West Grey that you're going to want a landfill site. So if you say yes, you're going to put a landfill site here, and you recommend to the province, you have got a huge eagle's nest sitting right in your municipality. The same with it's exactly the same sort of thing as with, like you said, gravel pits. We do not have the authority, and so when there is a huge uproar about a gravel pit going in, all we can do is put on site site plans, et cetera, et cetera. We can't say yes or no. And
Yes, we can.
well, yes, but it's a commodity. So I don't know. I think you're opening a can of worms by wanting to be able to do this.
Doug?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's something we need to rush in right now. My concern is, since the government isn't putting out more, or isn't giving people permits for more landfills, then what's their plan? Where's the garbage going to go in 50 years from now? Who's got the solution? And right now they're saying no more landfills. So somebody has to have a plan to say, where are we going to put our garbage then? And right now nobody has the answer. So maybe we want to just leave it sit for a little bit until it becomes a little clearer where, and that's something with our recycling too, that the government's making some changes, but we don't have a clear picture of how they're changing that. So I suggest that we just receive it and move on.
Well, I do have the motion on the floor, so we'll see how it's voted on first. Moved by R. Hergus, seconded by Rob Thompson. Whereas municipal governments in Ontario do not have the right to approve landfill projects in their communities, but have authority for making decisions on all other types of development. And whereas this outdated policy allows private landfill operators to consult with local residents and municipal councils, but essentially ignore them. And whereas municipalities already have exclusive rights for approving casinos and nuclear waste facilities within their communities. And further, that the province has recognized the value of municipal approval for the siting of power generation facilities. And whereas the recent report from the Ontario Environment Commissioner has found that Ontario has a garbage problem, particularly from industrial, commercial, and institutional (ICI) waste generated within the City of Toronto, where diversion rates are as low as 15%, and whereas municipalities across Ontario are quietly identified and targeted as potential landfill sites, and whereas municipalities should be considered experts in waste management, as they are responsible for this within their own communities and often have decades worth of in-house expertise in managing waste, recycling, and diversion programs. And whereas municipalities should have the right to approve or reject these projects and assess whether the potential economic benefits are of sufficient value to offset the negative impacts and environmental concerns. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey supports Bill 16, Respecting Municipal Authority over Landfilling Sites Act, introduced by MPP Ernie Hardeman, and calls upon the Government of Ontario and all political parties to formally grant municipalities the authority to approve landfill projects in or adjacent to their communities. And further that, the Council directs the clerk to send the supporting letter with a copy of this resolution to Ernie Hardeman, MPP, AMO, Glenn Murray, Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Premier of Ontario, and local MPPs. How long has this been out? Because Glenn Murray, I think we'll find the right minister there. The Minister of Environment and Climate Change is not Glenn Murray at this point in time. No, McGarry's Transportation. I'm trying to go through. Thinking it's Del Duca right now. I think it's Stephen Del Duca. But anyways, we'll get that part changed. Yeah, and we'll put in the right name for the minister there. I mean, we can just say the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. Bev, comments?
I won't support it. There's so many errors and, misrepresentations in that resolution, and I won't support it.
Okay. Any other comments on it right now? Rebecca?
The premise of this is to take what the province mandates, legislates to us, and give us a local voice on items that are not pretty. Everybody needs a landfill. It's not in my backyard. We know that landfills currently are a part of waste, getting rid of waste, right? So this is to provide a local opinion, a voice of where they should go. And again, back to, landfill is the word we're talking about right now. This could be any item where the province is mandating we allow green energy, and where do we put these wind turbines? It's the same item. It's different, just only different in the discussion. This one is a landfill, but we are trying to get a local voice for where these items would go.
Okay. Bev?
I'll reiterate, there are so many errors and misrepresentations in that particular resolution. I will not support it.
Okay. I think this came from Mr. Hardeman's own City of Toronto looking to open a landfill. As I said, the one concern is environment, and it takes in a lot. We do have commenting right now through the planning if somebody wanted to redesignate property for an industrial, commercial, ICI landfill. We have the authority to comment. I think what Mr. Hardeman, and I have spoken to him on this, he just wants the authority at the municipality to say no. And I guess I struggle with that for the fact that, well, it's not in your backyard, it's not in your backyard, it's not in your backyard, where, but under the Planning Act, the municipalities do have the ability to comment how seriously that is taken when the province is doing it. And it's one of those other ones that how much, if you've got into that, would you end up taking off the province? Because the province, I don't think, would end up putting money towards you in court. So it's almost one of those downloaded costs if this come into play. Anyways, thank you for my comments, allowing me. Anything further? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's defeated. Okay. What's the last one? Oh, my good friend, Mr. Vanderbosch. Municipality of East Ferris is talking about trapping wolves in Algonquin Park.
I'm going to cry wolf and let council just seek a direction from this item.
Oh, very good, Mark. Very good. Any comments on this? Just receive for information, motion there. Everybody's fine with that? Do you need a motion? No, we'll just, it's been suggested that we receive that for information. It is pretty localized. East Ferris is certainly on the north side of Algonquin Park. I think it's a local issue. We'll receive it for information. Any other questions of Mark? No? Then we'll go back. What page are we on there, Brent? 158. No, I think it's before that. 158 was Carey's. 108. How about we try that? On the package. Good morning, Brent. Sorry, timing was a little off there, but busy times out there, as we've discussed earlier, with all the issues from the weekend. And please, from council, speaking on behalf of council and the community, thank you to the employees that were out there not only on late Friday night, but Saturday as well, cleaning up after the windstorm and everything they do. And I know that it's continuing some into Sunday and certainly picking back up again today as we clear off some of the trees and hydro poles and working with Hydro One and West Ontario to get a lot of things cleaned up.
Actually, Your Worship, I was wondering if I could elaborate a little bit on that, or should I wait for new business?
Jump on it right now when the floor is open for
thank you. I do echo those words exactly. The staff, I did thank both Steve and Tim for and their staff for hanging in there on Friday. They worked late into the evening, and again Saturday morning there was additional trees that had yet to be reported that were laying across the road. But more importantly, I think one of the things in talking with the senior staff this morning estimating that there's probably, Tim estimates, well over 50 trees within the community. I haven't talked to Steve. I know there was a bunch of trees that fell in Durham and maybe some of the other communities, Newstead and whatnot, and Ayton. But regardless, I would estimate that the bill, based on what Tim has told me, we're probably going to be in for about $25,000 just for that cleanup. And that's obviously going to come out of my brushing budget, roadside maintenance. But, you know, again, I just want council to understand that it is going to take a hit on my budget, and just means I'm going to have to scale back the actual brushing that we normally do for widening out the road or cleaning up the roadside. So just to make sure that I don't exceed the departmental budget operations this year, I'm going to closely monitor costs and try and keep on top of that.
Okay. Doug?
Make comment there, Brent. Don't we have an emergency fund for things like flooding and that type of thing? Could it not come out of that budget?
I don't have an emergency fund set aside. There is a flooding account, but regardless, I think at the time when the, and I did talk to Kerry about this morning, when the tornado came through in 2006, 8? 09, sorry. There was an account set up only because the province came back and assisted with the cleanup in the emergency. So we were able to, I think municipality was able to get those funds back, or the cost of the repairs. Correct me if I'm wrong, I wasn't here, but I'm assuming that money, whatever was spent on cleanup, was the province provided aid at that time.
I just thought when we talked budget that we had talked about an emergency fund, that we were putting money into a fund for things like this because of our weather is unpredictable, and we
it's a great idea, but I totally agree with you, Councillor Hutchison, but I don't have anything set aside for emergency, only because we've got
a winter.
Well, we do
offset reserve there, but yeah, I think that's more for winter-related activities. No, I guess you could say up until yesterday or Saturday, winter hadn't disappeared. So maybe you want to, you know, if you can convince Kerry to take it out of the winter emergency fund. But I just
now, if council wants to use any unspent operational on roadside maintenance, that goes into an emergency fund. I mean, Kerry's not here to talk about that, regardless. But anyways, that's something that could be considered to use for that very purpose of storm cleanup, because I really don't have anything there to. Those funds are there for that.
I definitely think that's something we should look into, especially when now we're almost in a tornado alley. Now that we're more susceptible to tornadoes, it's probably a good idea.
Yep.
I think if the trees were out in leaf, there would have been a lot more damage.
Would have been considerably worse, no doubt.
Came with that windstorm. Anyways.
All right. Let's get down to subjects. You've got one here is the landfill monitoring.
Yes, Your Worship. I provided these very big reports, too big for to put in my, all I did was take out the conclusions and recommendations from those reports. But more importantly, I don't know if council had the opportunity to read site life remaining on our 3 active landfills. That one is more important information to digest. Right now, we currently have, I think, for Normanby, we have, I've got to get there, 1.8 years remaining in volume there. Now, these reports don't include the large amount of timber, and I mean the timber that is treated timber, furniture, treated wood, and that sort of thing. That volume is not accounted for in these reports. They have to be landfilled. I'm suggesting that once, and I've talked to GM Blue Plan about that, once that volume of refuse is shredded down in the Normanby site, I dare say it'll be done. It'll be at capacity or pretty much completed this year. And you know, the other thing in looking at Durham has, based on, you know, he gave 2 scenarios, based on the 5-year average is 3.1 years left. And then based on the past couple years, or hang on, the maximum, based on the maximum observed fill rate, Durham only has 2.2 years left. Again, there's some volumes of materials on the site that have to be landfilled, significant volumes. Again, I dare say that number is not really correct. That's in the report. I think it's a bit less. Now, having said that, one of the things, so we're looking at, you know, Newstead reaching its finality very shortly, Durham within maybe a year or two. And then if you read the report for Benwick having the most life expectancy, based on its current fill, and that's just taken Benwick by itself, is about 48 years. When you combine all 3, once Durham closes, once Newstead closes, when you combine all 3, it's now down to 19 years. So going back to what Councillor Hutchinson was saying earlier about what are we going to do? West Grey, 19 years or 18 years is going to move by fairly quickly. We're going to be in a problem. There's going to be a problem there. And now's the time to start thinking about it. You can't wait until 5 years, because those are very lengthy processes to develop and get approvals and things like that. We need to start now. And whether or not our existing Benwick landfill can be expanded, I don't know. Or an adjacent land, look at considering purchasing adjacent lands around there. Again, I don't know, but that's something that we should have a consultant starting to review that process and starting to plan for the future of West Grey, because I mean, it's going to be a problem, and it's going to take, I'm estimating, before all the approvals, all the agencies and things like that, you're probably looking at 10 years before anything gets approved.
Doug?
Yeah, one thing I noticed with the Bentic is we have 80 acres there, 82 acres or something, but we're only using like less than 10. I don't know what the number is. I haven't got it from me, but why do we have, can we not
I think
expand?
there's the river, or there's a
buffer zone
creek,
around the sticks.
a creek that,
Sticks.
or a river, sorry,
River
that
Styx.
runs through the back corner of the prop, and I think that limits our availability to expand, is because of the river. Everything's towards the front, but again, I'm just assuming it's because of the river that runs through there. And by the report, you know, if you looked at it or read it, they've taken water samples at the river. They've done all their testing that they're doing. Nothing is even remotely close to entering that water stream or that area. So that's ongoing analysis that they conduct annually, all the time.
Okay, further, Doug?
Yeah, so it's definitely, I agree, Brent, we should start looking project into the future and start making some plans. But if you look at the closeness of the Durham landfill to our sources of water, a river, and the streams that go by there, you know, and you've got 80 acres that you can work around in Bentic, I mean, there must be some way of expanding a little bit. So I definitely think we should look into it for sure.
Yeah. Okay, Bev?
Well, I do believe that it's of serious consequences for the future. I do believe that the new council should set up a committee that specifically works with a consultant to look at this. My theory would be that the new council really looks into gasification, which we are very fortunate that Durham has a license to have. One of the only ones, I believe, in Ontario that actually has a gasification qualification to do, because I mean, the province has not licensed a landfill site in years. Nobody wants it in their backyard, so then you've got the residents all angry with you, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the way to go is gasification, and it's come a long way in the last number of years as to what was really looked at 20 years ago when Durham actually got it licensed. So to me, that would be a recommendation to go forward for the new council to really take that into consideration.
Okay, go ahead.
If I could.
Go ahead, Brent.
Just to reply back to that, Councillor Cutting. Incineration is maybe a thing to look at, but one of the reasons why Durham never got off the ground is because you need the volume. You need the volume to feed it, and unfortunately, West Grey I don't think is large enough to make that an efficient operation unless you start taking in adjacent municipalities, and maybe that comes forefront. And I often thought the county, at the county level, the county should be the ones that should be helping little brother out, because it's a problem for all, not just West Grey, but all the rest of the municipalities in Grey County. And anyways.
Yeah. Bev, further, and then Rebecca.
There was years ago, and I can't remember how many years ago, Kevin, where we had a committee that was looking into this, and we did the research and went to Southgate to see if they would bring their garbage here, and we did a number of
96.
96?
Yeah, it was before amalgamation that the county did a huge landfill.
So we did actually do all that, and then of course Southgate went off and did their own thing, and a number of others did. But I agree with you. I think it's probably a county-wide issue, and maybe that's the way a committee for West Grey actually goes at it. We have the license. Let's look at maybe doing something like that through the county.
Okay, further, Rebecca?
So based on one of the last resolutions, I guess we'll just let the province tell us where we're going to put that landfill, if there should be one in the future. The next topic was the County Wardens Forum recently. There was lots of discussion about garbage at a county level, and taking into account a biodigester in Chatsworth and then an incinerator here in West Grey, and trying to put a plan together for the whole county of who has what certificate of authority, and we could take garbage from somebody and then our organics could go to another, and so on. So I think that is evolving and so on. But I do appreciate this information coming forward because like you say, there's not been any water situations, no problem with leaching and so on, but I encourage everyone to read the full report there, and we should get a task force together of some fashion locally, and then working with the county to check out the options that are available for the certificates of authority that are presently issued.
Brent?
Just one last thing. That's not to say that West Grey doesn't do its due diligence and promoting, telling the public on proper methods, for example, composting. Whether or not we open up a different style of composting. I'm not talking grass and leaves. I'm talking about composting out of the home.
Food, yeah.
And whether or not we consider that, because what they say is the largest portion of the garbage that goes into our landfill is a lot of it is compostable products, and whether or not West Grey, I've talked to Joyce about stepping up our game plan and getting into composting, and whether or not West Grey, we sell the blue bins, whether West Grey buys the compostable bins, and we just sell them back to the residents at the cost, or whether or not West Grey pays for them, pays for the first one, and then if the residents want to buy another one or whatever. But again, sort of that promotional, it may seem small and insignificant, but it's again, you're trying to promote something for the future, so it's passed on, and from generation to generation, it gets helps reduce our loads into the landfills. But anyways.
Rob?
Just going back, Brent, you mentioned Durham, the lifespan in Durham for a year or two, whatever. Will that, just to clarify a point, will that be a transfer station then?
That's what my hope is because Durham actually receives the largest volume of, and I think the community of Durham, I know a lot of would disagree, but I think it needs it. there's transfer stations all over. Once the landfill closes, a lot of the municipalities I'm finding leave it as a transfer station, just because the economies for the residents, to make it easier for, and again, it should work. It would work as a dump. It's just that the garbage is then moved to another area.
I just wanted to clarify the same with Newstead, obviously. I just want to clarify that because people are going to say, well, why are you putting in the waste scales then? If you're going to be closed in 2 years, there's a waste. And
there was a method for my madness, and that was one of them, is that I truly believe that Durham has to stay as a transfer station. And I don't believe, and I hope nobody's from Normandy here, maybe one or two, but regardless, I don't see the efficiencies there of creating a transfer station in Normandy, just because, again, it costs money. It's a lot of money to operate that type of thing.
When the time comes,
does it warrant scales? No.
No.
And so the idea is, I looked at the one that's going to be a longer serving site in Durham as being one that's going to be there for many years to come.
Okay, I just want to clarify
and
that.
Operating possibly in what Councillor Cutting mentioned earlier, there's still the opportunity in the future of once you close it, then you lose that your C of A, you lose that opportunity of the incinerator in the future. I think that's something that sort of West Grey needs to hang on to.
If it's a transfer station, it remains then open as such, yes, so we don't lose a designation for that.
Nothing changes other than the fact that it would be a transfer station for residential purposes only. Industrial and things like that, I would like to keep the household garbage just to Durham, but the industrial stuff coming from Durham goes to the larger landfill, just because we're not going to be set up for dumping large trucks and things like that in Durham. So.
Okay. Rebecca.
Brent, we know that there are several updates coming to the Blue Box and changing of how we get paid and so on, right? Is there an update that you could provide us with that? No? What is the next step in the change that's coming?
I'm waiting. Right now it's at a standstill with, I think, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Stewardship Ontario and AMO have not, I think AMO is trying to help out the municipalities to get the best deal possible. Stewardship Ontario want the best deal that they want, and they're still not coming. Or again, I'm just waiting for things to develop, and things are kind of, I think they're back and forth on a bunch of things, but nothing's really come through.
Nothing conclusive.
No.
Okay. So several years ago, there was a pilot project presented to Council of the Day from Moloch, just north of, let's say, the southern end of West Grey.
It's in West Grey.
Yes. So that being said, they have several different options, and one of them, we could maintain our Blue Box program, but at that time they were offering a pilot program for compost, having certain locations, and then everybody could take your stuff to the end of the road or put them next to like community mailboxes and so on. And at that time we had some funding available. They were willing to throw in, goodwill and money to get the program off the ground. And at that time it was decided no. So I think we're back to looking at what the options are. And is this something that can be put over for a year? Yes, it can be. Is it something, if we had a year of head start, we would have a plan when Normandy will be closing in 1.8 years at the current rate of fill?
I can say we did work with Moloch extensively on putting that program together. It comes down to the point that we don't have the population density to effectively make it work. It would have ramped up, still would have needed landfills to put. Difference in, where you're going to put the bins and local, instead of at the end of your driveway, maybe you've got to drive a mile one way or the other, or wherever it was, to set the bins up. But then picking the bins up and having the specialized equipment, we just couldn't make the business case. 10 years ago, the municipality did a lot of extensive research on incineration or gasification, different methods. To Brent's point, you need somewhere between a minimum of 75 ton a day. Grey County at that point in time, countywide, we had less than 50 ton a day. So the technology, I believe, is out there for us to do better, but the volume, the capacity, we're not there. It means, and then you start getting into how far do you bring the garbage, the product, to make a business case. And quite frankly, the business case right now, as we know, City of Owen Sound, as much as nobody wants to say it, is still shipping their garbage to Michigan. Why? Because the two counties, or whatever the counties are in Michigan that have that unbelievably sized landfill, it's more cost effective for Owen Sound to ship it to Michigan than it is to work with any alternative program at this point in time. It's dollars and cents. Rebecca?
At some point, though, we are going to have these landfills close by us close, being Normandy and Durham in the next few years, and then we are going to be stuck with the bill of transporting garbage up to Bentic. So that will come a few years from now. But we really have to open our eyes and get going on this. We can't let it sit for any longer.
We're already, the municipality, bringing everything to one central landfill. It means going to another one. It's not that, I don't know how much of a shift it's going to be. Will there be a shift? We'll wait and see. But getting some of it and getting us ready, yes. There has been a lot of work done, but there needs to be more exploration on that. And I truly believe we're probably at the point now of putting it to beyond the mandate of the next council to start looking at it. Because once you get into it, it's huge. It is a lot of work, heavy lifting to be able to get a landfill. Bev?
I must say, though, that I think West Grey is in a better position than a lot of municipalities who are in the same boat. We have done a lot of homework. We have done a lot of sort of studies. We have a lot of information, and we have got a lot of, we've done a lot of progress, even though we're not at a final decision stage. We certainly have got a lot that we can fall back on. We're not starting from square one. This council has been very proactive as far as landfills and garbage and recycling, and had a committee set up to look at the best functions and purposes, and that's why we have sort of the good program we do today. So we are in a good position. We don't need to panic. We just need to get on it, and next council take that information and work with it.
Okay. All right, good discussion. Essence of time. Brent, your second report. I think it was only not something that we're going to sweep away or solve today, but keep us in the forefront. Second one is on the American Water quarterly operating. I didn't see.
Yeah, Your Worship, it's just for
alarms.
FYI for council to receive that information. I also attached a summary of the billed water volume versus pumped. Just so, and the good news is there's been a decline over the last 3 years. 2015, 2016, 2017, I think you can see a slight decrease in the water volumes as compared to billed versus the metered rate at the wells. You're going to ask, why do we have such much amount? Or the difference is, well, we don't monitor fire. If there's a fire, that's water that is unmetered. Secondly, when we flush our hydrants annually in all the communities, Newstead and Durham here, there's quite a bit of volume of water lost through that. And I don't dare say that there still isn't leaks in our system. Steve does have the technology to go around, and he's basing it on the water volumes that are American Water are looking at. So if there's a real spike in the program for usage, then Steve goes around with a special equipment and hooks up to it and can actually hear if there's leakage, large leaks in the system, and he's been able to repair a few of them over the last few years. I know that have been huge leaks, for the water lost in that regard. So that was just an FYI anyways for council.
Okay.
I take any questions
Good
if there are
report.
any regarding
Is there any, Rebecca?
Just number 7, health and safety items. This would be page 128. Full electrical inspection of current equipment and panels. When will that be done?
Oh, I'm sorry. Bear with me. I'm sorry.
Sure.
128?
Yep, 128, number 7. Be page 6 of your, that report from American Water. Just says municipality should consider a full electrical inspection of current equipment and panels.
This is for, correct me if I'm wrong, is this for the
It's for Durham.
Durham well houses? The well house number 2 has been upgraded, so I'm assuming he's talking about the one on South Street. I'd have to look at it and find out what they're pertaining to.
And then there was another well inspections. When will those be performed? And then that would be it.
Again, they're recommending that our wells should be cambered. It's something that's standard to do. It's been several years since the last inspection was completed. And yeah, I'm gonna...
That's work that American Water will do as the inspection, or we will do as owners?
We will do it.
Yeah.
Yes,
So will that be
we
done
do
yet
it.
this summer?
It's the same thing, I'd like to, Councillor Herger, this is the same thing with our cleaning of our 3 storage tanks, the water
Standpipes.
tower, the vertical tower here, along with the concrete tower, or concrete storage unit, and the large water tower down in Newstead. It's been several years since they've been inspected, and there's residue from the last report. There was residue at the bottom. It's not bad residue. It's just, again, it should be cleaned out of the system and the tanks be inspected. So again, I do have a quote on that, fairly not very expensive. The previous contractor that did the work, I just feel it was better for them to do it because they have a history. They can go back and look at what was done or what they reported in the previous report back in 2014, and then we can see the especially the vertical tower here in Durham. They had pictures. I can see, we can then map out or take a look if there's been more evasive corrosion on the inside of the tank that we need to be more cognizant of. So again, this year, yeah.
Summer of 2018, huh?
I'm hoping so, yes.
Okay. Thank you. So that report was just for information. Doug?
Just one question that we'd asked Carrie, but you weren't here, Brent. Just a question about Union Gas heating of our Durham storage depot. I think the one in the old Grey County building, maybe. I just wonder about the cost. Like the Union Gas price was almost $900 in that last billing, compared to the 451 Sadler Street, which is the one behind the arena, right? Which is only $100. So I'm just curious why that bill is so high, and is there an issue there?
I asked a good question. I don't have a real good one other than the building's very old, doesn't hold the heat very well. I asked Steve about what he sets that temperature at, and he leaves it at a low temperature. It's not warm or set at 70 or 80 degrees. I think it's down around 40, 45, maybe 50. Maybe that's too warm, but regardless, very old structure there that is not very efficient for heat, so there's a large amount of heat loss there.
Is it something that we need to heat the whole building, or is there certain sections that we could heat and cut that down? Like,
Unfortunately, I believe it's wide open in there, other than there might be, I think there's just an office space at the front, and the rest of the building is completely open, sorry.
I'm going to go ahead, Bev.
I was going to say, so in next year, now that we have the new building there, that is, you know, can we move anything that needs heat into that building, and we can't?
No, because that building is cold storage for, it's just more or less for storage. It is not heated. It won't be heated until it becomes, in the future, the new Public Works Depot. And that's...
we need to insulate that building. We need to get some pricing on spray insulation or something, if that's the case, if it's going to be that costly.
That building is insulated. It was spray insulated by Grey County years ago.
So why is it that cost? Windows, so we need new windows.
I think we've...
I would not recommend investing anything into that building. I think it's best that I tell Steve to turn the temperature down or yeah, down to about 40 or whatever it is. Yeah, it's not worth investing any money into it.
Maybe we put it this way, that something we've identified, obviously with the gas bills, and we haven't had it for that long. So we've identified the gas bills, and I know staff will be looking at ways of reducing our energy costs in that building going, you know, before next fall. And we have to keep it, because we can open up the windows a little bit more and the doors so that we don't have air conditioning costs on it throughout the summer. So I want to leave it at that.
Brent,
Rebecca
I
had
did
the
have
other
a question off of the financials. There was a Thompson Flow Investigations for $6,340. I wasn't sure. I thought we had GSS Engineering doing all of that work. I wasn't sure if this was a subcontractor, and we kind of had discussed earlier, but...
That is correct. They're a subcontractor for JSS because they have those flow monitors set up around Durham that GSS are gathering the information to complete the modeling. That's imperative. That was all council approved, I believe, last fall.
I just wasn't familiar with the Thompson Flow Investigation.
No, that's
name,
it.
so that's good though.
That's the subcontractor that we're paying directly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Those were two that come out of the accounts that Kerry didn't know on. So thanks, Brent, for those explanations, and action to be taken.
I actually have one other comment, maybe high five is in order. Thank you so much for the roads. I've been out on some of the gravel roads lately. Concession 14 had some new gravel put down, and it was quite a group of our roads department packing it down and making sure that it was filling those holes. So I actually been out on several back roads, and I think they're starting to shape up. It's been a long spring, long thaw, but the roads that we have put the maintenance gravel on and packed down, I think are really, they're great roads now. So we'll look forward to all of that work being completed all over West Grey.
Quick update, I think within 2 weeks, maintenance gravel will be on, and then chloride will be following in behind that towards the end of the month, early June. So if you do get complaints about dust, tell people to be patient, it is coming.
Yep, we have it ordered. We'll be on when we can get it on. Okay. And is there, for any other comments on half-load season maybe coming off shortly?
Talked to the supervisor this morning, Your Worship, and he's agreed that half-loads can be taken down today.
Very good.
I'm not sure if the signs are going to be taken down, but the phone calls coming into the office, we will direct the people accordingly.
Yep, very good. Okay, thanks, Brent.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Brent. But you've got something else. Go ahead.
This could wait for new business if you wish, but it's a very important thing, and I apologize. The reason why I was away, our Traverston Bridge, I'm a little worried about it based on the discussions I had with the road supervisor this morning. he indicated to me there's a structural member that is no longer attached underneath. I was on the phone with the consultant, and he recommends no more than 5 ton until they have I wanted to close it because I'm really afraid of what's going on there. And it was a report. He's gone back through his notes, and the bottom line is he identified it as a bridge that should have been or was going to be closed very shortly. I wanted to close it just for safety until it was inspected, but he thinks we can emergency post it for 5 ton, which means just passenger vehicles can go across the bridge, but no longer buses or any of our trucks or anything like that. So I dare say, based on what Tim has told me, and I know what structural member he's talking about, WSP have recommended that it's not worth repairing. It's probably going to be, it's on its last legs of being closed. So we will probably, and I won't know, but based on the full bridge inspection, they've got to bring in a basket and that goes out over the bridge so you can get a man inside to get underneath to do the full inspection. Based on, you know, what they have to do there, I'm recommending, or at least getting that bridge low posted, and I'll call the agencies, appropriate agencies, let Phil know and things like that, that they're going to have to go around. I'm sorry I don't have any good news, but I wanted council to be aware of an impending situation that bridge could close very shortly.
Doug?
Just to comment, when you posted, Brent, then you posted at the bridge. Will you post it at each end of the concession to let people know that it's changed?
Yes.
So they have a heads up? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Rebecca?
This is a difficult conversation we're going to have over the next several years, roads and bridges. Are we thinking that is enough to lower it to 5 ton? You know, your initial thought was to close it, and if we talk about school buses using it and so on.
No, not anymore.
Right, but we're saying as of right now there could be a bus going over it because it's still open at 3:30 or 3 o'clock. Is it safe? Is this a liability risk?
I need to get a hold of the bus companies as soon as I'm done here to let them know that they can't use that bridge. And we'll have to put up a barricade with 5 ton load limit or a sign.
Okay. Bev?
It was the consultant's thought to lower it to 5 ton. That's not your thinking.
Right now it's posted at 10.
Right, so to lower it to
I wanted to close it because I didn't, you know, I mean, I have some experiences in bridge, and I was trying to protect the municipality. I thought close it anyways, and then let them get their inspection done. If it opens back up, hooray. If it doesn't, you know, at least we've protected ourselves and do an emergency closure just to.
But it's the consultant that did the original inspection of that bridge that suggested to lower it to 5 ton, am I correct?
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Rebecca?
Was the consultant present this morning to review the bridge?
That's why I was calling them. I wanted them to go out today to do emergency inspection.
So he has not looked at it, he or she has not looked at it yet today?
I was going to go out and view it myself right after council.
So
And,
over the phone said we should lower it, not
Yes.
visually inspected it?
That's correct. We're setting up the thing that, like, they don't have that proper equipment to get underneath. And don't forget, this
It's a
is
large, tall bridge.
it's a very tall, yeah, it's a large ways, and you can't access it with a ladder. You have to bring in a special piece of equipment that it's a mechanism that reaches out around, and you get in the bucket of it, and it can go underneath the bridge for them to do the inspection.
So I think without our consultant actually physically looking at it today, I think closing it until we get a report back from a consultant that we could actually rely on.
Am I going to make a suggestion that I'm not a bridge engineer? I'm not a roads expert. There's some delegated authority to Brent. I trust Mr. Glazier, our Director of Infrastructure. Thank you for bringing it to our attention, Brent. How you deal with this is an operational issue, And if you want to close it, we've been informed that that's your decision. Consultant, that you take that for information and make the decision, but the ultimate having the road closed is up to you, the same as posting half load season to keep the road safe and to keep this bridge, whether it goes to 5 ton or goes to, I'm not going to give you a thought of it should be closed today or whatever. Make the right decisions for us, as you always have, and we'll support it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to go and inspect it right afterwards. Like I said, I do have some knowledge, especially if I can see that a structural member is pulled away from the bridge. I'm not going to second guess myself. I'd rather close it just for public safety. It's going to be a nuisance, yes, but you know what? I don't want to see anybody lose their lives over it, and I don't want West Grey on the hook for any part of this.
Nope.
So.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the update on that. And as I said, that's in your wheelhouse. Okay. All right.
I think I'm done.
We're down to bylaws. We have a number of bylaws today, so I'm going to start. Bylaw 51 is the sale of property. Moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 51, 2018, being a bylaw to formally authorize the mayor and the CEO deputy clerk to enter into an agreement of purchase and sale respecting the sale of property owned by the corporation of the municipality of West Grey to William Harold Sanderson and Patricia Lillian Sanderson, described as Plan 502, Part 2, Plan 16R 10340, Part Lots 23 and 24, Part 3, Plan 16 10340, Parts Lots 22, 23, and 24, west of Rock Street, point of pin 37319-0261, formerly geographic town of Durham, municipality of West Grey, county of Grey, be now read a third time, passed and numbered. I think that should be first, second, and third. Mover and seconder fine with first, second, and third time. Passed and numbered, and that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. I'll let you make those. Any questions on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Bylaw 52 is the adoption of estimates to strike tax rates. It's a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by R. Hergert. Be it resolved that bylaw number 52, 2018, being a bylaw to provide for the adoption of estimates of all sums required during the year to strike the tax rates and to provide a penalty and interest in default of payment thereof for the year 2018 tax rate bylaw, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. We'll make that comment. The next one is an MOU between the County of Grey Fire Chiefs. Moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that bylaw number 53, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the Grey County Association of Fire Chiefs, the Township of Georgian Bluffs, and the Inter-Township Fire Department, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Just a question, because it's with the fire chief, Madam Clerk, would it be the fire chief that signs this under his?
Well, there is a spot for his signature, so it would be underneath the memorandum of understanding that Phil would sign it, but actually the bylaw you would sign it. So there is two.
Yeah. So just we've got that clarity. So everybody understands. Phil will be signing, excuse me, a portion of this, but the bylaw itself by the mayor and the clerk. Okay? Any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Bylaw 54 is a bylaw to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Ken Assist. I have a motion moved by R. Herget, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 54, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the Municipality of West Grey and Ken Assist Group, Inc., CGI, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this? Rebecca?
I did have one quick question. Was this a non-binding memorandum of understanding? Is that in there, in our motion? I don't believe it is.
It's not into the motion.
Yeah. I believe it's supposed to be a non-binding memorandum of understanding.
I believe it's in the text of the MOU itself. So
that it's non-binding?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That is where I got comfort. Yeah, if it wasn't, I would suggest it be in here, but it is in the MOU itself. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right, the next one is bylaw 55. This one's the appointment of committees. It was discussed earlier. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that bylaw number 55, 2018, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 36, 2018, being a bylaw to appoint officials and citizens to various committees of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this? Call the question, and all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Bylaw 56. There's a bylaw to rename roads in the Forest Creek Estates Plan. Motion's moved by R. Herget, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 56, 2018, being a bylaw to rename roads not assumed by the Municipality of West Grey to date, located in the Forest Creek Estates Plan of Subdivision, Plan 1097, former Lemco Resort Development Corporation Plan of Subdivision, on lands described as parts lot 20 and 21, concession 10, former Township of Bentinck, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. This one is not as amended, so mover and seconder are fine with me stroking that part out? Yes. Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. The last one is the confirming bylaw, number 57. Moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 57, 2018, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the May 7, 2018 council meeting, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this motion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. New business. Addendums. Notice of motions. Direct motion. Seeing none. Closed session. I don't believe there is any. So nothing arising. Question period. At this time, would ask if there's any questions of anything that has been on the agenda. Dorley. If you could use the podium, I'd appreciate it. And yeah, Adam really appreciates it for his sound.
Yes, that's good.
Thanks, Dorley.
I just have a quick question about the garbage. It's kind of a fortunate thing that I'm here today because you know that 3 years ago I talked to you about garbage and all that, and then I was slightly sidetracked. So I've only been working on my own project, and I have basically reduced my garbage to very, very little. And I told you 3 years ago, you know, this example of the Meaford fish fry, that reduced from one big roll-on bin of garbage to one bag. You know, that was my example that I brought. And over time now, I watch people throw things out still, like in incredible ways, like anything happening, any gathering at the hall or anything, there's 4 or 5 bags of garbage that wouldn't have to go out there. I sort through people's personal garbage because I see, this is all recycling. Why are you putting it in there? I see everybody still throwing things out and doing it wrong. They leave food waste in it that spoils badges. They leave fat deposits on cardboard, which ruins batches, apparently. We need education on this. I mean, I can hear that this is getting way worse than everybody thought it was, but if people still not recycling, if people are still producing too much garbage, wouldn't be the first thing to start with the education? You know, if I see a lot of people still not recycling and all that, then something's going wrong. So if you could reduce all this. So my question is, would you support some kind of education program? Like stand out as a community with an excellent recycling program. And composting as well, just as an example, I feed 6 little potbelly pigs. I feed them food scrap. And I've waited for a while, and in 1 year I figured I'm bringing home 14,000 pounds of food scraps from people. So it just goes in a barn, gets fed to my pigs, 14,000 pounds, and I think I'm more like to 16,000, 17,000 pounds now, and there's hardly any buildup in the barn. So what I'm trying to say is, we have all this food waste, and it shouldn't be in the landfill, and it can be totally digested to down to next to nothing by a few little pigs. So you know what I'm saying. There's so many ways of reducing our waste that if we did a little more education, I think you would get more time on the landfill. Incineration, I don't believe in it. I don't believe that you can gasify millions of tons of trash, batteries, and all kinds of toxic things to nothing. If it was that easy, the world wouldn't have any problems. You know, I still don't believe that, although I know there's too much garbage. I totally agree. But would we put some thoughts, could you maybe put some thoughts with some people like me into some kind of education? And I would guarantee you we could reduce that garbage by at least 50%. Really, I really truly believe that. So here's my question. Could we?
The answer to that is absolutely. We'll need to put together how we can put it together. You know, what would need to be into that package? What can we do to support or get the best bang for our buck on doing some of that? I will say that our recycling program is still, you know, it's not where it should be. As I did 2.5 kilometers or almost 4 kilometers of road pickup with the Durham Lions, as I said earlier in the meeting, and you realize it's not there in the mindset of the vast majority of people by what you pick up on the roadside. So yes, what I could say to you, Dorley, let's work together and try and figure out how West Grey can be even more than what we are. What I was going to say on the recycling, we're out of the 200 or 300 municipalities, I just forget the exact number, in Ontario right now that do have a recycling program. We're in the top 50. Mm-hmm. And recognizing, you know, you go, wow. But then you realize, you know, it's still only, you know, in around that 50% where what could we do to get, you know, to be number one and have 98% recycling, which nobody in Canada has.
Can I just say one thing? That's great. What I see down the road, for example, if people don't know how to recycle properly, like I still talk to people, they don't take the metal caps off of a glass bottle. Like if people now still don't know that this is not going to work, you know, if they still don't know, so there's no education. So for one thing, they're not really reading the pamphlets. But this seems to be a totally across-the-board problem. So this education has to go to the right places and really somehow get to people who, have, after all these years of recycling, still don't know. They recycle, but they still don't know how to do it right. So there's some lack of, you know what I mean, either people's attention span or some way of educating. Maybe kids more, but there must be some way.
I think there will be. Well, there is. It's just a matter of finding it. Marion. Then I'll continue. Thanks, Dorleen.
Hi, it's Marion. Since we're on the topic of that recycling, she was talking about education. We've also got laziness, sheer laziness. People don't want to. But also with our manufacturers, if we can get the message up to them. I mean, I was trying to get the paper off of some jars because you've got to get the paper off. You're supposed to take that off as well. You know, you soak it for 15 minutes and you still can't get the paper off. And how long are people going to spend fighting with it before they just go, they go, there, I'm putting my glass in the bin and it's got, I did what I could. So there's that. And I guess my actual question is to do with where's the recycling going? I'm hearing about China starting to refuse things. Do we still have a market? Is it still going somewhere? Or are we finding that there's no market for our recycling?
We have already found that some of those markets, and you mentioned China, yes, our recycling, which is through waste management, has given us the indication that no, there is not, you know, we don't have a market for this. The biggest one was styrofoam, that we had a very good, I think, you know, pick up and take up on that. And no, there's no market for it now. Okay, what do we, you know, we've got bins of this stuff. Where do we take it? We're left with trying to figure that problem. The world market, and part of it comes down to contamination. China has said, you know, we're getting all the stuff, and out of that recycling, we can only recycle a percentage of it because it's contaminated. We're not doing a good enough job of getting rid of the contaminants. Bale wrap is another one. You know, I've said to the province wants us to recycle bale wrap. Well, what's the best way to make it? Make it into plastic posts. And who's one of the bigger consumers of cedar posts out there where they could be using plastic posts? All of our, you know, MTO highways has guardrails that are cedar posts. Why not make them out of plastic? You don't have to cut down the cedar tree. You can leave the tree up to get rid of the carbon dioxide, make it out of plastic. If it breaks, car hits it, snowplow wing hits it, pull the plastic one out, put it back in, recycle it, and put another plastic one in, you know. But MTO, it's education again of what we can use these materials with. We've lost that bale wrap solution as well too. AMO and a number of groups are still looking at things, but it comes down to what's the desire of the community at large. As you said, there's no way we can put a bylaw or anything else in to compensate laziness. That's probably our biggest fight right there, trying to educate people that, you know, a little effort today is going to not have a big effort from our children or grandchildren to resolve the problems that we've created, but we're not there yet. So we need better education and more work on it. My opinion on that one, Marion. Go ahead, one more.
One quickie thing to add to that education is reduce first.
Yes.
Reusable containers.
Yeah.
And I think reusable everything.
You know, and the City of Owen Sound right now is going through that debate with getting rid of bottled water They're not going to have any of that. The proposal right now is to eliminate that out of their facilities. Here's a water filling station, you know, get your own bottle, fill it up, and carry your plastic reusable bottle. Thank you. Doug, you have a comment? Sorry, and
I don't want to get started on recycling and all that. Could be here for a while, but I agree. 40% of our garbage that goes in our landfill is a compostable organic material. So we need to do something about that, and I think Brent's talked about that. We're going to make some changes. Another thing I think that creates a bit of a problem for us is our recycle bins are not covered, and when you get a big wind, especially like Friday, and if you happen to have garbage out for pickup, half of it goes down the road, and I'm sure a lot of the garbage that you picked up came from recycle bins. I know the stuff that I picked up was in somebody's recycle bin at one time, and now it's on the road. So that's part of an issue too, and I don't have the answer for that yet, but maybe something to look at. So yeah, I agree. And there's lots of things, lots of changes. Even talking now, they're making houses out of plastic, using plastic walls. They're making roads using plastic, and why not? It's an oil-based product. Why not put it in the roads, you know, if we can save some asphalt or whatever. So there's lots of solutions out there. We just haven't got there yet, but we all can do better on the recycling part. There's no doubt about that. It's called wishful recycling, they call it now, where, you know, I wish this to be recycled, and meanwhile it doesn't fit, so, or they didn't do the job to clean it up. So I agree. It's a big topic, and hopefully we can educate people better about it and make some changes.
Okay. Any other questions? Rebecca, question from council.
Just curious if we could put some information in our next tax bill. I know that's some prized space, but some information just regarding Waste Diversion Ontario. There's a lot of good information on their website about what is recyclable, how to recycle it, like you say, with the labels and making sure things are separate. So even once you put it in the box to be recycled, that it's usable and it's counted, you know, as recyclable instead of dirty and not usable type thing. So just curious if maybe we could include that website in our information newsletter that we send out with our taxes, just a bit of a blurb so if people need more information. Let's start with the education piece.
Okay, very good. I'll give you one. I'll offer up the mayor's section for that. Yeah, I will.
You have some visuals. I know that Joyce does a very good job. She's got lots of, like Waste Diversion's got all kinds of, Waste Diversion has all kinds of sticker labels and so on like that. I mean, I don't even know, maybe some of those resources are free, that if somebody gets a new blue box, that we're putting on the blue box the sticker with what goes in, right?
Yep.
Something that simple could be impactful.
Well, as I said, in working with, you know, community group, whether it's Dorley as the lead or whatever, it is about the education and trying to understand. Bev?
I think one comment too is that it's not, stickers on a box are fine, but it's not the content that people are confused about. It's what they do. They have to remove the label, they have to wash it out, take the can, you know, so to have a can sticker on a blue box does not really ensure that they're recycling correctly. It is a matter of all the detail that goes into that can. And that's where the, you know, the website would be good, because that gives you the detail as to whether you're recycling correctly or not. It's, you know, it's a whole different ballgame than throwing a can in a recycle bin.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you very much. I think did a bit of that. Municipal Act notices, Mark. I don't believe we have any. Adjournment. Moved by Councillor Herget, Councillor Cutting. I'll accept that. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody out there. Aye.